I first stumbled onto Star Trek Continues on the internet and fell in love with it right away. And it was so good, I just needed to contact them. So I emailed Vic, we became fast friends, he invited me to the set, and I came to see the Enterprise. My God, it was so amazing when you turn that corner and go down one of those corridors and you're on the original Enterprise set. I mean, it's just beautiful. And watching everybody work and watching how these episodes unfold was just magical. And I started feeling like maybe I can be a bigger part of this. And as luck would have it, I was cast as a character for episode 5, Dr. Heath. It was during that time when we were shooting episode 5 that I also pitched a little story to Vic that became this, episode 6. And the story that I pitched Vic was something that was very personal, which is what the best TOS stories are about. They discuss hard to talk about subjects in a much better way in this format, a much more digestible way for people. And so this was no different. Like I said, it was very personal. A story about my family, a story about my grandfather. My grandfather was a violent abuser, and the effect he had on my father, my grandmother, echoed for years to come. And my father was able to overcome it, but his father was not. And I thought there's a story there that needs to be told, that often people that do this don't realize how much the people they're hurting love them, and how much they need those people, that love is more powerful than we can imagine, and that even when we're a monster to the people that are close to us, they still love us. And the story I am telling is about this little child, this big child, that is also violently abused by his father. But as powerful as he is, as indestructible as he is, he needs the love of his father, he needs the respect of his father, and he needs help. And I named him Usti. Usti is Cherokee for little. And I thought it was a nice thing to do, because when you first see him, he's anything but little. But then you realize he is. He's a child. And he still needs his father. So now we need to tell the story about this creature, which means we have to make the creature. Now, I've been in film nearly 30 years, and I've been a sculptor for a lot of that, for Nightmare Before Christmas, for The Incredibles, for a lot of other Pixar films. And so I did what I normally do. I did a couple of drawings of Usti and then sculpted him in a little 14-inch sculpture, but then that had to be translated into an 8-foot tall creature in a costume. You know, in the original series in the 60s, there was no CGI. So those guys had to make costumes and have people act in them. We had to do the same thing. So Vic found this great company in Colorado called Distortions Unlimited, owned by Ed and Marcia Edmonds. And man, they delivered. They're huge Star Trek fans themselves. They love the series Star Trek Continues as well. And they took on this daunting job, and it was a daunting job, of bringing this 14-inch sculpture to life in this giant guy behind me. So I went out there to help them sculpt and to see what they were doing, and there's just these massive chunks of clay that are being formed into this guy. The chest was sitting on a 50-gallon oil drum. That's what we needed as an armature, as an understructure for this thing. But little by little, he was coming together. And then Vic and I went out together to see it for the first time after they had finished the sculpture, molded and cast it, and painted it and brought it to life. And Vic and I walked in, and we were bowled over by what we saw. It was the first time we were seeing him alive, and we realized how much more terrific this was going to be than we even imagined. Wow, it was startling how cool it was, and how wonderfully it was translating what I had envisioned. So when he's finished, I mean, he's one of a kind, and how do you get him to set? Well, their team drove him from Colorado to Georgia just to ensure that nothing happened to him. And they got him there, and then they stayed, and they helped us, and we needed their help. It takes a whole team to get Usti loaded and fitted and get everything working right. But who's the guy? We needed an actor. So Vic found Damian Buer, all 6'6" of him, to play this. And he loves the series and jumped at the opportunity to do this. And as big a guy as he is, he couldn't be in it more than 20 minutes at a time. So we'd take off his head, put fans in there to cool him off, give him some water, let him collect his thoughts until he's back out there again. It's hot, it's heavy, it's hard to see. I mean, he can't look through any of this stuff on the face. There's nothing there. We had to mount a tiny little camera in his chest and connect it to some visors, one visor that this guy can look through, and the camera would transmit what was coming out of the little camera to his eyes. And that was the best we could do. Sometimes we had to have him run towards camera, and he couldn't judge distance very well. So we had to set somebody right next to the camera just to stop him from crashing into the camera and bowling over all the equipment. But, I mean, he was a champion and kept doing it, and he brought Usti to life for us. When everything was put together, and I watched the episode, with all of the people, all the different talent and effort that went in, from sound to lighting to color, editing, it's breathtaking. And I think back to when this was just an idea in my head. And going from that drawing to the 14-inch sculpt to the 8-foot-tall costume and what we have now. And I tear up when I watch the ending. I'm drawn in, and as I'm watching the beginning, I'm completely engaged the whole way through. And it is telling this story that I wanted to tell. You know, I'm glad we don't make any money with all of this, because money would just cheapen the experience. And I am so grateful I got to be a part of it. And I hope that you enjoy it as much as we enjoyed making it. And I hope it means as much to you as it does to us.